right, game of the week, ranked versus ranked. Michigan going down to Boomer Sooner land to face Oklahoma. Oklahoma about a 5.5 point favorite, depending on where you do your shopping. I'm seeing some 4.5s also pop up in the market. When I look at this game, Pete, I'll be honest. I think Michigan plus the points is the way I would play it. What do you think?
Yeah, this is everything we talked about before kind of applies here, because this is where I do hate the half, because both defenses are good. You have two dynamic quarterbacks. I'm going to go Oklahoma to win. I think it's not going to be Florida State and Tallahassee, but this is a program that's dying to kick it all in. Last year's Oklahoma team was injured all over the place. They didn't have any receivers. They just couldn't get anything going. Now they've got the guys. Now they've got the talent in place, and I think this is at the home environment. What did we see in week one? Okay, obviously the Death Valley game was one thing, but you saw, again, that the environment at Florida State, the environment in Miami, that home thing of places that were like, okay, we're good, we're ready to show it off already. And I think that's going to be Oklahoma. My problem is it's still the Michigan defense. It's not going to get rolled. But here's the crazy other stats. What can Bryce Underwood do? Is the moment going to be big for him?
Yeah.
He's just a true freshman. However, last year, Michigan only had 2 games where they threw for over 200 yards, and the high yardage game was 206. Underwood threw for 240 in the opener, so we get 250, whatever. Okay, the offense wasn't totally there quite yet, but at least they completed forward passes, so that automatically makes them better than last year's Michigan team. And you're right, I want that spread at 5.5, especially. I would not be shocked by a 24-ish 20 game, because again, you don't take everything from week 1 into week 2. But how many times can you get hammered over the head that defense is ahead of the offenses? And, I think that still might be the case here, where both defenses, Brent Venables' defense for Oklahoma, this is the game they've been waiting for.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to see a lower scoring game. Again, Oklahoma winning. I despise going with the points on this, but Michigan covering.
I think under's the way to go. When I did a film study on Oklahoma's offense against Indiana State over the weekend, or Illinois State, excuse me.
Not much to cake there, though.
Yeah, but Illinois State dominated up front. I mean, Pete, Illinois State's nose tackle was in the backfield all night against Oklahoma. And Mateer kind of gives me Johnny Football vibes. Like, he's yanking throws,
awesome.
arm side.
He went, 31 of 39 or something? He was awesome. Something crazy.
I don't see it with Oklahoma's offense right now. I think Michigan's defense is going to handle this game. Now, I agree, Bryce Underwood, freshman on the road, the moment might be too big. But I think Michigan's defense is going to control the tempo of this game.
The other thing to remember, too, is especially in week 1 against an Illinois State, they're not showing anything. I mean, you want to talk about just not giving away any sort of playbook or thing. I mean, these teams aren't dumb. They know what they're going to – they use these games like in Illinois State to kind of get up to speed, to work out the kinks, blah, 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 all the other cliches. But they don't necessarily go full bore. I mean, we've got a – especially a team that's got so many key transfers like Oklahoma has, that was them just saying, okay, let's just get the live scrimmage out of the way. Once the game was pretty much not in doubt. I mean, Illinois State that defense held up well for Oklahoma, so that was all right.
Yeah.
You're right. There's going to be some individual battles, and that's why I said I think it's Michigan. Michigan winning outright would not be crazy. So, again, I think Oklahoma wins, but as much as I hate it, Michigan to cover.
Yeah, I'll take the upset in this game. I think Michigan goes into Boomer Sooner land and gets a win. I don't know. There's something about Mateer.
It's big. And it's much, much bigger for Oklahoma. Kind of like Texas, Ohio State we talked about last week, where if you look ahead at the schedule, Texas losing this, now they're in trouble. They got to go to Georgia. They got to deal with Oklahoma. They got to deal with you look at the rest of the Oklahoma schedule, there's 2 losses there at least. They lose to Michigan, they're knocked out of this college football playoff thing because there's no way they're getting through the rest of that gauntlet. Michigan, however, you look at the rest of their schedule, if they win this, they'll probably lose to Ohio State. They'll probably drop another one along the way, but they could be 10-2 in an at-large. So this is effectively a college football playoff game. It's an elimination one for Oklahoma and maybe one that propels Michigan in if they can pull this off.
It'll be interesting to see just how good Mateer is. We're gonna find out if this offense is legit, because that
So
was
this is the
biggest
by the way, the big question I've been asked all week on all these radio shows, like now what for the Heisman? Now that Arch Manning's out, this is one of those games because there's again, like we've talked about, there's not a lot out there right now. There's not. It's NFL weekend. Everyone's going to be caring about the whole weekend of NFL games. But on Saturday, the only game pretty much the world is going to care about and watch is this game between Oklahoma and Michigan. So, like we said last week, if Arch Manning went off and beat Ohio State, then Heisman over. Well, now that's done. No one else really stood out last week from a Heisman standpoint other than Thomas Castellanos, and I don't think that's happening. So
I thought
if
Carson
Mateer,
Beck stood out. I thought Carson Beck stood out.
Carson Beck, yeah, but his receivers bailed him out. And actually, C.J. Carr had a better game than Beck did. But I like him. I do like Beck. But
What about
to your
Sellers?
point, with everybody watching, if Mateer goes off and they beat Michigan, because there's an anti-Michigan vibe out there, and so they're the villains. And so if everyone has happy thoughts that John Mateer, with his flowing locks and U.S. Open tennis player looks, goes crazy and rocks Michigan, he's your favorite then for the Heisman if they pull this off and win. But again, that's the Michigan defense. That thing's no joke. They're going to play well.